Hi there, it's Future Astrid here. I filmed an intro to this video that I have not been able to find. I'm hoping that it didn't get accidentally deleted. In brief, I have picked up two headless guitars out of someone's trash. The headstocks have been completely broken off. They're both acoustic Dreadnought guitars. One is a Takamine with pickup, and the other is an Epiphone without pickup. They're both fairly cheap guitars, and they both have been pretty heavily used and painted and all kinds of madness. I'm not sure what the story on these instruments are, but I'm sure that they've got a story to tell. Let's cut to past me and get a little more by way of explanation. Okay, so this one, this is in pretty good shape, as you can see. This is going to be the one you bring home to meet your parents. Now this one, this is going to be the one-night stand you never tell anyone about, but secretly remember for the rest of your life, because we are going to commit atrocities upon this guitar. Let me tell you folks, I have plans. To elucidate a little bit further, I'm going with a Dullahan theme for this build. A Dullahan is a spirit from Irish folklore. Basically, they are headless spirits that come to collect the dead. Think the Irish version of the Grim Reaper. Most made famous by the Headless Horseman from The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. The actual model I'll be using for the graphic on this is the Dullahan Kelty from the anime Durarara. You Japanese speakers can butcher me in the comments below. I deserve it. Anyways, so what we're going to do, this is madness, we're going to convert this to a full shredder guitar. We are going to mount this humbucker at the bridge. This is a Seymour Duncan Alternative 8. It's a hot, shreddy type of pickup. It's one I like the sound of, and one I think will bring out some of the acoustic qualities of this instrument. Then we are going to put a floating tremolo on this. Yes, folks, I ordered a headless tremolo off of Amazon. It was a cheapie because it's the one that looks like it needs the least body modification to mount it. So what I will be doing is I'll be removing at least the middle part of this bridge. I will be mounting the tremolo bridge where this piece now is. I'm going to hold the strings up at the nut with a Floyd Rose locking nut. I'm going to borrow this nut for the other build because I want that one to more or less sound natural, but this one we're going full shred with it. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm truly going to put a cutaway in this. I'm going to just take my bandsaw and make myself a hole. Because inside of here there's a nice little place to put my hand when you're up doing the meedly bits, and I think any shredder needs that. So I'm also curious how it will affect the tone on this. Obviously I'm doing a lot of things to this guitar, and there's no way for me to check the before tone on this guitar, but expect to be surprised, because I sure do. Anyways, let's get to it. Alright, so now comes the fun part. I'm about to break out the bandsaw, but before I do that, I am going to mark approximately where I want to do this cutaway. So I have done some checking around inside the body, and you see this brace that is underneath the neck here? That goes all the way across straight. So that is my limit point. I don't want to go past. I know that is a structural element of the guitar. So I'm going to cut in front of it, which means I'm going to have one or two frets I have to stretch a little bit to reach. Not a big deal. I am using a paint marker, and any of this that is still left by the time I'm done, I can just take off using the same acrylic or acetone method. So I'm going to try to give myself a fairly aggressive looking cutaway here. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm just kind of eyeballing, and then we're going to kind of curve in here because that's where the sander is going to go. So let me just take a look at that and see. Yeah, I think we can make that work. So basically what I'm going to do is take this to the bandsaw. I'm going to just rough in where the cutaway is going to be. It's going to go all the way through the body. It's going to take this chunk of the side with it. I am going to try to even it up with the neck heel, although this neck heel is more or less straight up and down. It might be straight up and down. So as close as I can get this cutaway to being a match on both sides, but I want it to be an actual cutaway. Oh, by the way, let me do a before sound test just so we can kind of compare it. And then we're going to do, just to give us an idea. So let's see what we got here. There, folks, it's cutaway. See that? And now we have the cutaway inside of the instrument. So, let's try a tap test. Although this is just roughed out. It's actually not too bad. Yeah, this bout is definitely a little more resonant than this bout, obviously, but I think it'll work for our purposes. This power drill, incidentally, is probably the oldest tool I own. It was given to me by my dad when I was a kid or a teenager or something to that effect. He also gave me the router that I'm going to use later. Yeah, I told you the horrors weren't going to stop with this one, and I am not kidding. Oh, like a charm, look at that. All right, so I'm just gonna dust this off as good as I can, because the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to attempt to camouflage that shim using a professional grade guitar lacquer here, which is not nail polish. Don't you ever think of using nail polish, which is nitrocellulose lacquer, on a guitar, because it is completely unsuited to the purpose. You'll notice this bridge is a much darker color. I've been soaking / steaming it, hoping to get the glue loose, and I actually have started already working under it with this paint scraper. This spatula, or paint scraper, excuse me, I have heated it up so that it will further weaken the glue, which I'm thinking is probably high glue that they used on this. I'm not entirely positive. This is actually going great. I was worried going into these projects a little bit, this project in particular. The other one was pretty easy. Because I'm not really set up to deal with acoustics currently. I don't have any of the, fancy heat iron stuff. I actually heated this up by putting it in a pot of boiling water, which seemed to have gotten the job done. And there comes the bridge with minimal damage to the finish. Of course, we're going to have to clean that up a little bit, and then we're going to have to start doing our work here. So, my bridge just came in yesterday. This is, I did have to order from Korea, was shipped through China. This is a Steinberger knockoff bridge, and the reason I chose this particular bridge was not because it drops its saddles like dice whenever you turn it upside down, but the fact that it requires a much smaller route in the back than most of these style bridges do. The traditional Steinberger not only has a spring that extends the entire length with the thumb wheel, but it also has a bottom piece that extends further underneath the body, which would need to be routed for. My thought was that I could stick this bridge in on top and then just route for the springs, and of course for the actual tremolo part and adjustment thereof. But I've run into a slight hitch in my plans, and that is this.
The new bridge is much taller than the old one by about 1/4 inch or so. So plan B is going to be, and I was going to do part of this anyways, but underneath here where the X brace is, up to the back of where the bridge is, or where the new bridge will be more specifically, I am going to put a reinforcing chunk of wood. Obviously I'm taking a lot of wood out here if I have to route it out, not only for the bridge but for the bridge pickup, which I have firmly decided that as a shred guitar this needs a bridge pickup only. Plus I've never seen it done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a substantial chunk of wood that I'm gluing in down there, not only as support for the bridge but as a surround for the pickup. I may be putting in pieces from the side of the X brace to reinforce that as well. The reason being, when this bridge is under normal string tension, it's not really going to produce any more pull than the standard acoustic bridge that was on it, except that maybe it's just a little more localized where the screw holes are. But yeah, when you pull back on the tremolo, you're going to increase the tension on the strings, and when you push forward, you're going to increase the tension on the spring there. So it probably doesn't need to handle twice the string tension that a normal acoustic bridge does, but it's going to need to be reinforced. It's the long and short of it, especially with the pickup hole coming out here right about where the X brace is. I'm hoping it doesn't end up cutting into that X brace. We'll have to see. So the first thing that I'm doing here, to make a long story short, is I have marked, I don't know if you can see that, I've marked with a white paint marker where the center of my bridge essentially is, center this way. And then I'm going to use a ridiculously large straight edge, which is also my level, which is also my ruler that I can find at this particular point in time. And I'm just going to run that straight from the bridge pin up to the nut, the center of the nut along that line. So this should give me a solid reference on where the actual center of the instrument is. So now we have our area we're going to route for the bridge, and I'm going to set that up with some actual routing templates. I'm just going to use the edge of 3 routing templates to get the back part of this, and then I'm going to swap it around to get the front part of this so that it's nice and square. So I have pulled out the Shoegaze Super Strat, which is one of the first build videos that I did on my main channel, Astrid Lenore. You can find that up here. And this is probably the closest analog that I have to what I want to do here. So all I'm going to do with this is I'm going to measure precisely how far, and I apologize you can't see this really well, but I'm going to measure precisely how far from the strings the bridge, well, let's measure to the start of the bridge is about just about 1/2 inch to the pickup ring. So I'm going to mark that as a place where I can put my own pickup ring in order to get the proper hole marked out. And then what I'm going to do, yes, I'm leaving my project guitar on the floor there for now. I'm going to put this upside down. So there is a concave side and then there's a flat side. I want the flat side down so that I'm marking this hole as precisely as possible. I am dealing with pick guard that I'm going to have to remove here. But that's something I'm going to be dealing with as I come to it. And basically I'm going to want to cut just beyond the white when I'm doing this. So I will set up my templates accordingly. And that looks like a pretty good, let me just double check the measurements on that, but I think we're good there. So you kind of get an idea how much wood we're actually taking out of this guitar with this big old square here and this little rectangle there. I mean, they're technically both rectangles, but now I just want to verify that I'm more or less centered here. Whoops. Okay, so that's 2 3/4, which is 1 3/8. Perfect. Little background here before I show you exactly what this is, but I tossed around exactly what to do with the pickup for this. I knew from the get-go I wanted a high output humbucker because that's what you do with this style of build. I didn't really want to go full 80s with like a DiMarzio or something like that. I wanted something that was, you know, a little bit better for modern playing, a little bit better tuned to my ears, because that scooped 80s kind of sound is not really what I'm going for with this instrument. I want something that's going to have a really good, tasty distortion tone, obviously, but I want something that's going to kind of carry through the character of the acoustic it's based on. I know this is a joke build, but I'm taking it kind of seriously because it's also a project, it's also an experiment. So what I've gone with, because I'm not going to bother Jamie over at Creamery with making a pickup for this build. I mean, he's backlogged for one thing and it wouldn't get done in time. But also, you know, I decided to go a little bit cheaper. Not super cheap out and use one of the humbuckers I have lying in a drawer. I did consider using an Invader that I had, but I couldn't find it and it wasn't quite the pickup I wanted anyways. With no further ado, so this is a alternative 8. It's a Seymour Duncan. It is a high output humbucker. It has, of course, my requisite 4 wires so I can do tricks with it, but also is the first pickup I've ever owned that has an Alnico 8 magnet, which has a really neat tone to it, according to what I've heard on the website anyways. So I decided that I would go ahead and take a chance on this one, drop it in here. But the first thing that I'm going to do is make sure it fits in the pickup ring that I was measuring with. Yes, it does. So, shouldn't have a problem there. What I'm going to attempt to do with this is I'm going to route the top for the pickup only, and then the piece that's mounting from underneath will be routed with the full route. At some point I'll be routing the center block with the full-size humbucker route so that I can mount the screws in there. Essentially what I'm trying to do here is use the top of the guitar as a pickup ring. So I'm going to start with a couple separate pieces on this sound hole side here. Alright, so I'm just going to stick a template along this line that I've marked here at the very front of the bridge. And for this I'm using my P-Bass pickup template. No particular reason other than that's the one that I have out that I'm going to use for the tremolo route eventually. But there's no reason it can't do double duty here. Okay, now we're going to put our J-Bass template into play here. Getting all the bass templates on here for whatever reason. Because why not? Telecaster bridge template if you're wondering. And it'd be nice if I had a template just for this, but given that this is a one-off build, I don't want to take the time to make a template for that. Since I'm probably never doing this modification again. I know, famous last words. Now I'm going to have the internet beating my door down, wanting one of these of their very own. And you know what? If you do want that, feel free to contact me using the links. I'd aim to please any customer, even if they're asking for something weird, especially if they're asking for something weird, because why not? So now we've got our 3 sides marked out, so the idea is I'm just going to round out this front part of the bridge here, or the bridge hole, excuse me. Did I lose my... I've gone ahead and set up my router. I have a 1/4 inch bearing bit on there. This is kind of a fine work bit, but this is pretty skinny wood and I want pretty tight corners on it, as well as much control as I can get. So I'm going to go ahead and carve into this thing and see what happens. so good. Interestingly enough, it looks like I have just missed this cross brace here. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a brace coming through here that I'm going to try to leave in place if I can. Although that does mean I'll have to kind of peel the top off of it. That also means it's going to immobilize the top while I carve into the other side of it. Very decent. Let's go ahead and pop this out if we can. Just going to apply a little pressure from underneath. It's twisting on that brace. Let me see if I can work a razor underneath it. Alright, well, we've hit a snag. Let's see if I can just... I'm probably better off just grabbing that brace from underneath and twisting and hoping for the best. Let's see if I can get a good grip with these. It may not be enough space to really operate them properly. Oh. No, we're probably going to have to re-glue that. That's fine. Or alternately, we could just not... Yeah, it's a pretty major brace. I should probably re-glue. Oh, interesting. The inside part of that brace actually is still on both sides of that. I think maybe what I'll do for now is I will just kind of strengthen what's there and just leave this brace off. See what happens. I am going to go ahead and take my razor blade wherever that went. First of all, I'll get my pliers out of here. And then dump as much of this dust out of here as I can. Because that's something that definitely dropped into the body. Oh, we've got this nice convenient hole in the front we can dump it out of. How very convenient. Just a little sharp edge tool to clean up these edges as much as possible. I think we're in business there. Let me just double check with my bridge. Make sure that that's going to clear it. Oh, perfect. It's just nice and snug in between there. That's exactly what I want. Exactly what I want. So that, you know, my bridge is basically going to mount essentially at that height. So there's going to be actually a little bit of a lip here, but that will allow the saddles to go as low as they need to in order to make sure that the action stays nice and shreddery on this guitar. This is very much like duct tape. Ooh, and I am ripping finish. I should have peeled this from the other direction. That's okay. It wouldn't be a Dullahan without some battle scars, right? And that is a Battle Scar Galactica right there. Incidentally, when I was soaking my bridge, I did get this kind of cool patina sort of effect. I don't know if you can really make it out on the camera there, but it is essentially what happened is this rosewood of the bridge got soaked through and started bubbling up underneath of the clear coat on top of it, and causing that to really start getting raised with the grain and cloudy, and just gives it that cool kind of like old patina, like it's been, you know, metal sitting underwater for a while. So I'm going to try to preserve that, cut the ends of this off, and stick them right back there where they went, just to give a little bit of class to this build. They're not going to do anything functional, I don't think, but they'll look good. Yeah, I think if I'm careful and just use this pickup ring as a template there, and what I'll do is I'll just kind of tape it down from all sides just to try to give it the best shot of work in here. Since it turns out I do not have a pickguard route for a humbucker in my arsenal. There are many things in my arsenal right now, but that is not one of them. I have no idea how this is going to work, but we'll just see. And I mean, if nothing else, this guitar comes pre-ruined, so nothing ventured, right? All right. Sandy it is. I've already managed to melt through this route. The pickup ring, rather. That's what I was smelling. And that goes right over the X-brace, wouldn't you know it? Alright. So we're going to try to salvage this. We're going to just put that full humbucker route on here and hope that it covers up the nastiness that happened here, because that was not pretty. I guess you need tougher stuff than a humbucker pickup ring as a routing template. Lesson learned. Yeah, that's... If I push it up a little, it's basically salvageable. Because that'll cover up... Okay, there's a little bit that went into the pickguard that is still going to be there. But it will cover most of the ugliness. That's got my cavity routed out mostly. This may be a mistake, folks. Just know I'm doing this in the name of science and for your amusement, which is really the more important of the two. X-brace is cleared. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be very interesting. Alright. Alright, well, first thing I need to do is clean this up. So let me go ahead and take off my template, which did very nicely. It's amazing what happens when you use the right tool. So I'm not going to do my original plan in using the soundboard as a pickup mounting ring. I did end up getting a trembucker spacing on this. Yeah, no problem going through that hole. Which, just to match it up with the bridge and see if I did the right thing. I probably did. This might have worked with the Gibson spacing, but I decided I would err on the side of having the poles too wide rather than too narrow. Nice cool little joint here that I've pulled out. Right at the X pretty much. The good news is we still have a pretty solid V joint here. which I can actually make some use of, I think. Maybe what I'll try to do is just cut a piece that just goes around what's left of the braces and kind of glues in place around them. That's probably going to be my best hope of making this structurally sound. It ain't perfect, but considering I'm routing into an acoustic top here, it's better than I expected. And we've got that pick guard nicely shaped around it, for better or for worse. So I figured out there's one more hole I need to put in this body. Don't need to, but I want to mount this jack in here to where it's nice and flush, goes up underneath the cable. Bob's your uncle. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to trace the outside of this as best as possible. And then I'm just going to rough out an inside hole that's about the right dimensions. Now you'll see that I have a magnet on here. That is obviously stuck to a corresponding magnet inside. This is where my tailpiece block ends. So I'm going to try to have one side of this, and I'm just going to mark that. One side of that within the tailpiece block there, just so we have a little support. This doesn't have to be exact because I'm just basically drawing in the lines I don't want to go inside, or outside rather, yes. So if I just pencil in, I'm sorry if this is tough to see, if I just pencil in something going just inside of those boundaries, we should be okay. Now what I'm going to do, for the interest of safety and having a finer tool for the job, is I'm actually going to use my Dremel for this. Just see if I can carve, because most of that is going to be just the thin wood at the top, and that way I don't have to try to get the router on a rounded surface and things like that. So in the absence of any actual Dremel bits, which I thought I had in here but I don't appear to, I'm going to just try to find the appropriately sized drill bit here. That should be just about right. Okay, so let's dump that little bit out, and then let's check this for fit. So if I put the jack in like that, I'm going to have to bend the bottom of it a little bit. Actually, let me do that now while I got it here. So I'm just going to take some regular pliers because I don't care too much about this jack, and I'm just going to give it a nice solid bend downward. It won't be a perfect match for the curve of the guitar, but it should be close enough. Yeah. Look at that. I think we're in business. Except for we're going to have to cut this jack off. That's going to be a separate operation when I do the electronics, but the hole is now there. So the last thing we need to do here, and you'll notice I have this convenient sheet of paper taped to the body. And you may be asking yourself, Astrid, why do you have this convenient sheet of paper taped to the body? Well, let me tell you. I am going to use some magnets, as I did back here, and I'm going to try to trace out the patterns of the braces underneath here so I can try to fabricate a piece that will fit and not only be snug against everything, but solid enough to support all the pressure of that bridge and the strings without buckling. So we're gonna have our work cut out for us, and I am just going to basically snug these up against, so that should be snug up against the brace there. Let me mark that spot, move a little further down toward the center. Actually, let's get that onto where the actual wood is. Alright, now let's move this over to the other side. It doesn't look like much now. So that will give us approximately what we need for this. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my ruler that I actually found, yes, not one but two reasonably sized measuring tools since using that great big huge one. This goes to show, folks, clean your workbench first. So from the front of that bridge, So I'm going to want to measure to the point where this starts to pivot, because the point it starts to pivot is the point that I'm going to need a hole. So to that pivot point looks to be 1 1/4 inches, which leaves it just a little bit shy so that it doesn't get in the way of anything. So 1 1/4 inch back from that should be the end of our arrangement here. Well, it doesn't look like much, yes, but I should be able to brace this from underneath. And remember, there's going to be wood supporting all underneath this X as well. So at this point, I'm going to take my paper off so that I can work on it a little bit more smoothly, because I've got all the measurements that I need to take off of this for now. So I'm doing some additional relicking of the guitar, who cares, right? Okay. So for now, we can set the body aside, now that we've verified that all these holes work. And see, I've lightened the load considerably. I've probably taken about a pound of wood out of that guitar. No, probably not even. Probably a 1/4 pound or so of wood altogether, because these are fairly light. But it's an impressive amount of carving away, let's put it that way. What I'm thinking, I'm going to get the paper and the sticky tape off of this first, so that it's gluing directly wood to wood. But the other thing is, I'm going to try to get these all in place, just fitting via the glue suction, whatever you would call that. And then once they're all in place, I'm going to try resting the guitar upside down until it properly cures. And that means, yes, I'm going to be putting this project aside, at least the guitar part of this project aside, for a while that does cure. Tomorrow, when that's completely dry, then I will reroute the pickup cavity, and we should have... I thought about this, actually. Yeah, I think I will reroute the pickup cavity first and then glue, but we'll see how that goes. I might need to re-glue some stuff. We'll see. This is a learning process for all of us. So I'm going to start with this piece that I made just to fit in the front of the sound hole here for a little bit of extra reinforcement. And I'm going to glue that, of course, on the top and both sides so that it can stick to those X braces properly. Because of the shape of the X brace, there should only be one proper position that it will slide into. And I'm just going to finger pressure this as much as I can, which should be enough to, yes, it will stay where it went for now. That's the goal. And there is intentionally a bit of this sticking out of the hole, because I wanted to be able to route it flush. And in order to do that, it's got to be a little bit proud. And because of the X bracing that's still remaining on this, these are fitting in place pretty easily, like a jigsaw puzzle almost, which is good. It's more of a bandsaw puzzle, but anyway, this is the one I really have to be intentional about what direction I put it in, so, because it is the asymmetric piece. So on this one, I'm doing things a little bit differently. I'm going to try to keep as much of the surface that the bridge is going to contact free of glue as possible. I'm actually probably going to sponge it out afterwards of any excess. So I'm basically just going to run across the points, across the sides, and then of course hit it liberally on the actual sides of the piece. I'm going to go ahead and slide it as forward as much as I can. Looks like we have fairly even support for the bridge there. Okay, so we've got done wiring the electronics. I've tested everything, made sure everything works while it's still outside of the guitar. That's a lesson I've learned the hard way, folks. Now I am going to try to mark my control layout here, because of course I'm dealing with braces on the inside of here and I don't want to run into any of them. So I've got my magnets out once more, just so I can kind of get an idea where the clear spaces are and kind of work around that. So again, I'm just kind of marking a couple times for each location. And these magnets are pretty strong. You kind of have to pull them off the side, even when you're going through wood like this. Okay, so there's our area between braces. If I want to go there and there. Let's see what it looks like back behind here if I went more straight with the knobs. So back here, let's see what we're looking at. Now I'm going to get out a couple of the knobs that I'm going to use. So these are ordered from the same place I got the bridge. They are a kind of cool bronze colored knob. I thought they would be interesting. And since they were offering a bulk deal and didn't have black, actually I was half expecting these to be black knobs and they were just calling them bronze, but they are actually a bronze color with some cool kind of black relief on the knurling. So very attractive knobs. I'm very glad that I made that purchase. But so if I put one there and one there, Telecaster style, that might need to be a little more upward, but if I put one down here, Strat style, that actually looks pretty good. Move it so the camera can see it. So I think that's about what I'm going to go with. So let's put a mark there, and then let's put a mark here. And that's plenty far enough away from our braces that it's not going to interfere. Why am I putting the knob on top of the marker? I don't know. Let's cap the marker back up. Put our knobs away for now. And then I'm going to drill out our, this is a 3/8 inch drill bit. I had to actually go out and buy new drill bits because I couldn't find my set with a 3/8 in it. Which means it'll probably turn up in like 5 minutes now, but be that as it may. Let me make sure my chuck key is still secured. So we're going to just drill right through there. Be a little careful with the thinness of this top, so I'm not going to apply a lot of downward pressure here. Just going to let the rotary motion of the drill take the wood out. And I'm going about probably half speed on this drill, give or take. Probably should have done a pilot hole, but I didn't. That one went a lot quicker for some reason. Probably just had some more intense grain where the volume hole was. So we've got a nice thickness at the top there to support our knobs. And then of course we've got our hole for the jack plate here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is drill all my smaller holes. What I'm going to start with though is I'm going to drill a nice big hole where I can pass the pickup wires through here. Just going as far over to the edge as I can. Since I decided I am going to use a pickup ring, I don't need to worry about mounting screws going into this same area. I got a beautiful snug fit on this. Any tighter and it might have started rubbing when the tremolo goes. Incidentally, I have reinforced, I don't know if I told you that, but I've reinforced the side of this that's not going into the tail block, just to make sure there's enough room for the screw to sink and it doesn't rip itself out of there. Now's the fun part. We get to get started actually installing this stuff. So let's just go ahead and feed these wires on down through. Good, good. Okay, yep, we got plenty of room to deal with that. So let me go ahead and finish mounting this ring. This seems tedious, absolutely. But compared to the tedium of trying to solder all the connections with this pickup in place. Trust me, I'm getting by far the easier route doing this. Plus, if it comes to ever having to swap out pickups or whatever, then it's going to be pretty much a snap. Likewise, with if I want to do something different with the electronics, I can just snap those off, pull them out, and work on them while leaving everything else in place. Drop that inside of there for now, and then we'll start working on the rest of our electronics. So first thing I'm going to do, keep this humbucker box handy here, because I'm just going to drop all my excess hardware in there as it comes off. That way I'm just ready to grab it and slap it in place when the time comes. Alright. So let's drop this all down here first of all. Okay, so toe knob goes there. Oh, that's a tight fit. That's okay. I would much rather have a tight fit than a loose one here. So we have our jack out here. We can go ahead and screw our jack plate on. I'm gonna put the knob hardware on first so that I know everything's locked in. I need to keep this wire just poked up through this bridge ground hole. So that'll ground out when the bridge goes in place. Clear as much of the dust out of here as I can. Alright, so this is the electronics connector, I'm pretty sure. Now let's get the pickup one. And just snap those together and everything ought to work. Yeah, let me actually just get some black duct tape and stick that in place so it's not rattling around in there. Now, I'm cutting off probably way more than I need here. I just want to make sure that it stays stuck with the fact that it's, you know, sticking wiring to wood, which is not exactly a secure connection. But nor does it have to really carry too much weight. Okay, now I'm going to turn the cameras off. I'm going to make sure that everything still works, but I will see in a few. Alright, so you can see I've done some of the final assembly here. I've got the electronics fully installed. I've got the base plate to the bridge installed, and I've tested the tremolo arm. As you can see, it pulls on. It makes a few creaking noises, but I've discovered that's mostly just the bridge moving against the body and not anything structural bending. And I think that will be better once I put the strings on anyway. But what I have right now is I have a bunch of screws and hardware that are not black that I would like to be black. So I'm going to pull out my professional lacquer here again. See, doesn't that look better already? And of course we've got our bronze knobs here, which are push-pulls. Everything works smooth on that. Now we're going to go over and paint our outlet jack here. And of course I can't leave the aesthetics of this completely alone beyond what I've already done to it. So, in sticking with the Dullahan theme, I have found an image online that I'm going to use. This is Kelty Sturluson. She is a Dullahan character from the anime Durarara. So kind of an atypical, modern, obviously female take on the Dullahan thing, which is honestly perfect for what I'm doing here. So I was going to credit the artist. I tried really hard, but it seems like one of those things that's just for sale everywhere and nobody is crediting the artist. So if this is your work, please let me know. I'd like to give you proper credit in the actual credits of this video and on the guitar itself. So I have gone ahead and printed this out. This is just a normal color print on sticky full page sticker paper, essentially. So I'm going to just pull the back off of this one. Alright, so I have pre-shaped this to the shape of the bottom of the pick guard here, so I'm just going to very carefully place it where it needs to go. And I'm just kind of smoothing wrinkles toward the outside edge here as I'm pressing it down, because I don't want to get any actual wrinkles underneath it. Now, I've used this technique before to add graphics to guitars, and of course you can see right now kind of looks like a sticker. Let me show you what kind of effect we're going for here. So this is once again the shoegaze Super Strat, and you can see I've got some graphics that I've done the same way. This was my first attempt at spray painting a guitar, and so especially on this top one here, you can see it. I messed up with the paint job and had to touch it up and ended up spraying over the edges here, but it just kind of helped it blend into the instrument a little more. So I like that effect, so I'm going to try to duplicate it here by using some black leather dye on the edges and see if I can make this just kind of blend together and look natural. So the idea is I'm going to go very dark at the edges, and I'm going to try to just feather it in and create kind of a fade effect with it. This is my first time attempting anything like this, so we'll see what happens. If it's completely messed up, then we will just print another one and try again. See how it's already starting to look like it's one piece? And I'm just going to do along the bottom and outside edge too, so it looks consistent. Alright, so I've already kind of obscured the edges a little bit. So what I'm going to try doing is closing this die off. I'm going to use the other end of the Q-tip and some water. And I'm just going to try to... that's not doing much, is it? Oh, that's doing something. So I'm just going to try this and see. Just wet this area that I've... and then just kind of work the black where the paper is still wet. Yeah, that's working a little better. I don't think I want to get that paper any wetter. And I think I've more or less made the point I want to make. I think what I am going to try to do, though, just to kind of start matching the texture as well as the color, is I'm going to try to do a little bit of black nail polish just along the edge of this. See if we can conceal those lines a little bit. And of course, when I'm satisfied with what we've done here, I'm going to go ahead and lacquer over it to protect it, and also to kind of create the same sort of finish throughout the pick guard, make it consistent. Yeah, that should be good. Hold this up to the close-up camera there so you can kind of see it. That looks custom enough on the outside, as well as being an abomination against all that is holy. Oh, you know what else I need to do? I forgot. I want to install the sides of this bridge back where they were. So I'm just going to kind of mark basically where to start cutting here. But Astrid, shouldn't you be using a ruler? Yes. Mind your own business. That'll be good enough. Just match, whoops, get these the right way around here. Yeah. So it looks intentional. I like it. Everybody else is like, what? Fuck, Astrid. I think pretty much all those people have given up on this video at about second 10. I'm not going to need to clamp them or anything like that. So we're just going to let those sit. And then I'm going to turn my attention to these strap buttons. I will hold on to at least one of them. I mean, who am I kidding? I'm going to hold on to both of them because I need another one for my other headless project. So one's going to be a donor, but let me just take this out. See, nice, evil, non-Schaller style strap locks. Alright, now we can pop this one on. And we are just about done with this. I was thinking about putting some Rose and Dagger badging on this, but I don't want to pull my own chain. Plus, the place that I would brand it would be on the inside where it's Epiphone branded, and I do want that to be preserved, even if the actual serial number got lost. For posterity, so somebody knows what this thing once was. So I have a few words by way of explanation. First is kind of a first impressions. The guitar has held up incredibly well. Because of all the mahogany I've added, it does perform more like a semi-hollow than it does like a hollow body acoustically. However, it's adequate to the task as much as I thought it would be. The other thing is this bridge, Steinberger knockoff bridge. Couple things that are weird about it, and it's a Geiger bridge if anybody is curious. Couple things that are weird about it. One is that these tuners, which are geared tuners kind of turned on their side, they're not great. In particular, they're not great for gripping the high strings as they're trying to pull them tight. There's really no way to get in there and, you know, just secure the end of the string, so you kind of have to poke them in and hope for the best. The other thing is that the spring adjustment screw on this, and this threw me for a loop. I spent about an hour trying to troubleshoot this before I took the whole thing off and looked at it, but if you turn it counterclockwise, you are actually tightening the screw and not loosening it. So I was going the wrong way, and then it was getting to where there was no travel in the tremolo, and I was completely stumped until I took it apart and went, oh! So righty-loosey on this one, which is weird. But once you know that, it's not really a big issue. Once this thing is set up, it's pretty rock solid. I would say it compares comparably to a Floyd Rose or a collar. It's actually set up very much like a collar, where you have the rear cam and then the roller saddles, which do not move with the rear cam, except obviously it has the tuning keys instead of the fine tuners. But I digress. Let me start by showing you a little bit of the acoustic tone of this instrument.
So final thoughts. Yeah, the Alternative 8, Helmico 8, great pickup. It is really doing the heavy lifting here. It has a sort of semi-acoustic tone even on its own in an electric, so when you translate it to an acoustic situation like this, it does really well in picking up all those extra harmonics and stuff from the top. Makes it really kind of drives in the point that this is a hollow body acoustic instrument you listen to. However, when you kick in the overdrive, There is no doubt that you are listening to a high output humbucker. It really has that kind of presence, that chug, while still maintaining that nice rich mid-range, which a lot of high output pickups are frankly missing. Really fond of the pickup. If this was your introduction to the pickup or to Alnico 8, I'm so sorry. But seriously, check them out for yourself. I really am actually interested in ordering some pickups from Jamie at some point that have the 8s in it, because I find that and the 4 really share that kind of acoustic quality to them, and I'm very excited to use more of them in my projects. So this project here, it's done what I set out to do with it. Obviously this is ruined as far as an acoustic guitar goes. As far as any resale value this might have, there is none left. This is a one-of-a-kind instrument, for better or for worse. I like it. Maybe 2 other people in the world like it. Everybody else in the world thinks I'm a horrible person and I've done horrible things. And you know what? Fair. I will see y'all next time, and on schedule this time, here at Rose and Dagger Soundworks. Till then, take care and stay safe.